can actually see the smoke getting sucked in there.
Hello, I'm Wanderer001, and this is the Wyze Air Purifier with wildfire smoke filter. I myself never really thought that I needed a air purifier. Figured my house air was pretty clean, and for the most part, I was right. That was until the summer of 2023, where anybody in New York saw an unfamiliar red haze from Canadian wildfires that were blowing down our way, and it looked like it was the end of days outside. Believe it or not, since it's summer, air conditioners running, sucking in that smoky air into the house, I decided it was a good time to look at air purifiers, and top on my list was Wyze because, well, I have plenty of other Wyze products and figured, hey, let's see if they could do for air purifiers what they did with other technology. Make it cheaper, but still keep it good. So let's get into this. Starting off, we have the general dimensions of the air purifier itself. It is 9.4 by 9.5 by 18.5 inches. As far as air purifiers go, it is small, but not the smallest out there. For a point of reference, here is your average size household fire extinguisher, which you should have around. And you see, it is not terribly big at all. It is small enough that it'll fit discreetly in most places, or at the very least you can kind of move things around, because to be optimal in its usage, it needs to be about 15 inches away from left to right, front to back, because the air intakes are on the front and the back of this, and that's how it's going to cycle air throughout your room. As I mentioned before, I got the wildfire filter. Now, realistically, there are three options with the Wyze Air Purifier. The exterior all stays the same. The only thing that changes is the interior. And that's because you have the three filter types. Wildfire, like I got. You have your basic allergen filter, and then their top-of-the-line formaldehyde filter, all of which has varying degrees of filtering particulate through the air. If you're interested, information about the filters linked in the description area below. The fan itself here can cycle 12,000 cubic feet of air every hour, giving this an effective coverage area of between 450 to 550 square feet, which again, for the size is pretty commendable. One of the things that Wyze prides itself on is having great hardware for less price. At the price point of the Wyze Air Purifier, you wouldn't expect to see something like a laser particle sensor. This is a precision sensor that measures air quality down to 0.3 microns and can adjust the air purifier's output automatically. Well, what does this mean in reality? Well, if you happen to burn some food, this will automatically kick on and distribute the smell and the smoke. Or it is sensitive enough that that laser particulate sensor can pick up a candle that you light in another room and watch this thing automatically turn on. You might not even smell the candle yet. This has already picked up the fact that it has been lit and needs to be filtered out, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. Coming to the top of the air purifier, you have your giant fan cutout here, but you also have these capacitive touch buttons across the top. Starting from left to right, we have our power, which will turn on and off the device like this. You can hear possibly a little chime as that happens. Got to power that back on. We have our auto mode. So this is toggling auto mode on and off. What this will do is, as particulates get pretty dicey, it will ramp up the actual airflow. Or you can manually control the airflow by this button here, which is our fan speed. Right there, that's turning it on, level 2, level 3, and then level 4. And as I do that, the air coming out of the top of this increases dramatically. And we're going to pop it back down to auto so that the fans lower themselves one more time. And then all the way here on the right-hand side, this is your night mode. What that does is it will put the fan speed all the way down to its lowest setting, as well as the benefit of turning off the front display. It is still operating. The one thing that I dislike is even in night mode, it does not turn off the little white LEDs at the top here. They don't look terribly bright right now because I'm in a well-lit room, but in the middle of the night, they are kind of bright. But there are some other things that you can do at the top here, and it is very useful to hold on to your paperwork that comes with your air purifier, because you will use sets of keys together to do specific things. So power and sleep mode will be your filter reset. If you want to connect this to the Wyze app, you'll have to enable the Wi-Fi function, and that's done by selecting the A and the fan. And if you want to keep it so that children or pets don't mess around with any of your settings, you'll want to use the child lock, which utilizes the fan speed and sleep mode at the same time. On the bottom of the purifier, you can see you have 4 rubber feeties to help keep this off the ground, which is great. Here you have your locking mechanism and release for your filter. And on the back right down here, I really appreciate the fact that the power cord is all the way at the bottom, not in the middle. Makes it a little easier to place. But to access your filter, you merely twist. And I don't know if you heard, since I still have this plugged in, kind of changed the mode because, well, it knows that I have removed this because there's a magnet right there, so it can tell when it's been moved. And then here, this is your purifier. In my case, this is the fire one. And we'll just kind of show you down in there. Been using it probably about a month. You can see there's a little rubber gasket, soft touch rubber gasket right there. And then if we take a look down inside here, you can see it is a giant hollow chamber. Realistically, all the way up there, there is your fan right there. But all of this empty space is taken up by the filter. Really, if I bring this up here, the smarts, this is where the fan is. Everything else is filter. So you get a very nice size filter for the size of this air purifier. But I'm going to show you quickly how easy it is to put this back together. We simply drop that in. It doesn't matter. I can spin this around however I want. There is no right way to put that in. And we merely take our lid, snap it back into place. Heard a beep again down here at the bottom because, well, now it knows. Magnet's in place and it's good to go. Coming back up to the front, we have our LCD screen. It lets you know what's going on with the unit itself. Right there, we've got a green circle. It can be orange and it can be red. The progressively darker colors mean that your air quality is getting progressively worse. You want to keep it green. And for the most part, as long as you keep it to the low double digits to single digits, you're going to get that. Up here, there is a Wi-Fi indicator. If the child lock was on like this, you would see the icon there. Over here, this is our fan speed. If I crank this up, every time I crank it up, you will get another line over there. And really, it is a very simplistic display, but that's perfectly fine because you don't want a lot of information here. You don't need a lot of information. You just need to know, hey, is the air good? Is it bad? How fast are my fans moving? But because I mentioned that there is Wi-Fi, well, that means that you can connect this to the Wyze app, but that also means that there is a setup process. So let's take a quick look at the setup process for the Wyze Air Purifier. This will be difficult to film, but setup of the Wyze Air Purifier. Step one is to actually flip the unit over, and then on the underside, there is a locking mechanism. Now, especially when you first get it, you're going to want to unlock this, which, given a moment, is a little difficult to do around a camera, but you just follow the directions there and twist, and once you do, bottom door comes out, and then you have your filter. And depending on which filter you ended up going with, the unit will be exactly the same, except the filter that you start off can be the regular filter, the formaldehyde, or the wildfire. And depending on which you get is what this is going to look like. Once you unpackage it, you simply place it back into the unit, kind of seats itself back in there. We are then going to take our bottom and close that back up. Again, for my particular filming location, not the greatest, but give me 1 second here. So there are notches, but also things to line up on the bottom here. And then you click, after you spin it, you'll hear it click. And that's when you know you're done. All right, so that's the basic setup, because then you can just plug and play and go. But since this is a Wyze smart device, that does in fact mean that there will be some smarts that we can set up. But there you saw, kind of flash. We're going to get our smartphone out and we're going to come over to the Wyze app, bring that into focus right there. And we are going to select add device, and we're going to select add device one more time. So camera, sensor, power, home, lifestyle. Well, it's either home or lifestyle. There we go, right there. Here is our air purifier. All right, so installation. You've got preparation. So if I come in here, all right, so it's going to walk us through prep. So this is what we pretty much did. Removing, plugging in, turn on the air purifier. Just press the on off button up here. So now it's on. Do a Wi-Fi control setup. So it wants us to hold down the A and the fan button on top, which turns the Wi-Fi on. And now we can add it to our account. So it's searching for the air purifier. So it looks like it's going to use Bluetooth instead of actually having to add all the information in ourselves. Oh, there we go. It found it. So we're going to tell it to attach to a network. In my case, I'm going to do my IoT network and connect, which I found a little surprising considering I have so many other Wyze devices. I figured they would have, that information would have been kept in here. So I should have just been able to swap it over, but that is okay. And there is Alex A. Alex A finding a new device, wants us to give it a location. I'm going to say living room. and there it says Wyze Air Purifier in living room. I'm going to select next, and just like that, it's all set. I select finish, and there it's going to show me, hey, air quality is good. That was setup of the Wyze Air Purifier. Realistically, very simple to do. As far as air purifiers go, or smart devices in my case go, that was a reasonably easy setup process. If you're like me and you're concerned about having something that runs in your house all the time, because I know I am, you want to know how much power does this actually use? When it's at level 1, which is auto or night mode, it uses 2.7 watts of power. Barely negligible. You really won't even see a hit on your electric bill. At level 2, it will use 4.2 watts. Still not terrible. Level 3, 20.6 watts. Not bad, but starting to get up there. At level 4, it is going to use 43.0 watts. Now, for those of you who might have something like a NAS at home, that's nothing. But if you're getting an air purifier, just know once it kicks up to those higher levels, it is going to be using a bit of electricity. However, do keep in mind that as long as you're keeping it on auto, once it cycles all of that particulate out of the air, it will lower back down. So it's not always going to stay at that level. Now, aside from power usage, Wyze says, hey, this is whisper quiet. You'll barely notice it's in the room. And I'll tell you, at level 1, I don't hear it at all. And if you don't believe me, here is a sound meter sitting right next to the Wyze Purifier. Once I stop talking, it gets down to about 36. Once we start raising it, level 41, '62, and jumping back and forth between 69 and 70. So those outputs are a little higher than Wyze states on their website. However, you also have to take into account ambient noise of what's going on in your home. So you can see the ambient noise in my home where I have the air purifier, almost not noticeable until it starts to get to level 3. Which isn't bad at all. Now, because this is a Wyze product, that means that there are some smarts that this can do utilizing the Wyze application. So why don't we take a look at the Wyze app for the Wyze Air Purifier. This is the Wyze app for the Wyze Air Purifier. Here you can see at the top of the page. So I'm just going to simply select that. And what we're going to see right here, it's going to give you a layout of, hey, how is the air quality at home outside? Here you can see it's good, showing a 10 air quality. It's showing moderate for the current location. Down here, we have auto. That means that the unit itself is just set for auto. I can, by tapping this, turn it into sleep mode, which will just do as you might expect. Turn it to sleep mode, which will turn off the lights and lower it to its lowest setting. I can also select off, which will turn the unit off completely. Notice all the data up here also gets turned off. I'm going to come back to auto mode and bring your attention to the top here. It's letting me know that running on auto mode, it will take roughly 40 minutes for it to cleanse the air to get down to a good standing instead of a moderate standing. If I select manual down here, well, this will allow me to unlock and lock device, set the level of airflow that I want. By default, since it's on auto, it's going to be on the lowest, but we can go medium, mid, max, and turbo, and all of that information will get sent to the unit. We also have a timer. How long do I want this to run? 1 hour all the way up to 8 hours, or I can do custom and set a specific time there. Just make sure if you make any changes on this page that you also hit the save button when done. I have not, so I'm just going to select cancel. At the top of the page, there is a little light bulb icon. Selecting this icon will, 1, show you the outdoor pollution for your location. Now, right here, you could see all of them are green except for this one over here. It's yellow, letting me know, hey, that's a little bit of an issue. If you see a red, that means there is a definite issue outside. Here you have a historical data sheet for a specific day. It's only going to give you 1 day. You'll notice this green dotted line right down here. That is the health guidelines. You want to be below that. And you can see my little white dots that are taken every hour at the highest value. Well, they're all below that green dot, or that green dotted line, so I'm okay. Coming back to our main page, that's the controls. If we come up here and select what looks like a sprocket icon, that brings us into the settings for the unit. I can rename this unit right from here if I want. I can select notification. So send notifications. Well, what do I want? Filter life running low. I have that toggled off right now. Or urgent messages, meaning, hey, the air quality either inside or outside is drastically bad and you should be notified of that. Here we have filter management. Well, Filter name, I can give it a name if I wanted to. Filter type, what type do I have? So in my case, I'm currently using the wildfire one, so I'm gonna hit save. So it's saying, based on that, I have 98% of its life. I can also select how to reset, and it will walk me through how to actually reset that. Some of that is only going to be accessible from the unit itself and not part of the application. And then down here, I could buy more filters from the shop. So I'm just going to select save, so that data gets saved up there. LED display, I could turn that off and on manually from here. So I could have it on turbo mode and turn the LED display off using the application. Location is based on either your current location, or you can select your location on a map. Right now, I have it pointed to Stony Point Battlefield, which is why it says I'm in Stony Point. Here we have return to clean air. What this does, if toggled on or off, it will use your phone's location as a geofence, meaning as you get closer to your house, it will turn on or turbo mode the air purifier as you get home so that you come home to clean air. Coming down, we have the selection for rules. We can set up specific rules for this. May it be a trigger for a light switch or a Wyze plug or a camera. We have sharing. So if I come in here, I can share this with somebody. Keep in mind, they will need to have their own Wyze account in order to share the device. Here we have device info, lots of sensitive information in there, so we're not gonna go in there. We have Wyze support, help center, troubleshooting, and submit logs. And then all the way at the bottom, delete device. And that is everything that you can do with the Wyze app for the Wyze Air Purifier. There you saw, there's not a lot that you can do in the Wyze app, and it's touch and go at times. I like the fact that it's there in case you want to monitor this remotely or see how the outside air quality is compared to your inside air quality. But me saying all these things about particulate levels and filters doesn't really mean a lot. And I hinted at the beginning of the video as to some tests that I ran to find out how well this worked. Let me show you some tests that I ran for the Wyze Air Purifier. Simulated environmental hazard with several candles. I'm going to light them right in front and let the smoke go up. There's a cat also eating in the test. We'll see if that changes anything with the auto mode, as well as I will then blow all the candles out to generate smoke. We're just gonna leave this recording because I don't know when that will notice. 1 candle, 2 candles. There is smoke. 5 candles. 5 candles, it's already detected harmful air quality and has shot back down rather quickly. My last 2 candles were a bust, so I only have 4 going. Can see that it is changing. Some of the candles are a little more dirty burning, like the one on the end there does a lot of smoke, and then I have one with a rather high wick. All right, we are going to can see just by having the soot from them in the air. This is also only on the front. Back has an intake as well as the sensor. So in some cases, I'm not doing justice in this test, but I'm going to blow out the candles. We'll see the smoke and see if we can get that to go higher.
You can actually see the smoke getting sucked in there.
It's also the highest I've ever seen it. In about 20 minutes, it got down to barely acceptable. I can still smell the smoke, but this is on auto mode. I'll probably blast it, and there goes a cat, blast it, and just finish clearing out the smoke smell. Pretty cool to see that smoke get sucked in and not blown out the top. And the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, I lit a candle in another room, and it was picked up within a minute by the Wyze Air Purifier. Yes, there is a lot of things that I like about the Wyze Air Purifier, but there are a few downfalls in my opinion. First being the application. Changing an option in the application can be laggy getting it sent to the purifier itself. I don't understand why. It doesn't always register. The air purifier does not always register something that was changed in the application, and the application can time out its connection to the Wyze Air Purifier. The connectivity of the air purifier itself is pretty spotty. As you can see right now, it's fairly steady. But once you start going into the app to try and monitor things, it gets pretty shaky. That's not to say that you can't do pretty much anything you want on the air purifier itself. And the fact that the screen is on the front of it and not the top means that you can see it from across the room without having to walk over or open an application. So plus and minus right there. There is currently no way in the application to change the night mode to be anything other than the lowest setting. I wish that I was able to turn the LCD screen off by touching a button and having it go into night mode at like level 2 or 3. But that could be changed in the future with firmware. Speaking of the screen, right now it's an on or off. There's no way to dial in your brightness, which again, may be able to be changed in the future, but I kind of wish that they had options to lower it so you almost couldn't see it or make it brighter, because if you're in a sunny room, maybe you can't see this and you don't have access to the application. The handle, which I didn't show you, is on the back. It is decently deep that I can get a couple knuckles into there. However, there's only one. And when you pick it up, the unit leans forward. I wish that they would have built in handles on the sides so that you grab from either side and lift it that way. But more of a nuisance, especially if you're gonna move this from room to room, or you can just bear hug it. So yes, I realize that that sounds like it's splitting hairs, but I just feel like with the overall design of this, it wouldn't really hinder airflow to have one on each side. And last, because I said the chassis itself of the Wyze Air Purifier is the same no matter which filter level you get, and then you can choose to change the filters later on to different ones if you so wanted to. The initial trying to figure out which filter option would work best for you can be a little daunting, especially if you've never looked at air purifiers before. I just went straight to the wildfire one because when it looks like end of days outside and you can smell smoke inside your house with all your windows closed, that's the one you get. But if you're not like me, how do you decide between the formaldehyde, the basic, or the wildfire if you want to try and filter out extra smoke? I feel a little more could be done by Wyze to help you make that choice. Maybe a questionnaire. Overall, what do I think of the Wyze Air Purifier? Honestly, I've been considering getting an air purifier for some time now and was pushed forward with the wildfires as I mentioned before. But aside from just helping with the outdoor wildfire smoke that was getting into the house, I never realized when we burn something in the kitchen or when we light a candle, how much the air quality in my house changed until I had this. Previously, if we burned something, we turn on the attic fan and open a window to suck out the smoke. Not great in the wintertime because it gets really cold out and you don't want to bring that into the house that you've heated. Having something like this, I don't have to open any of the windows. It will clean the air for me. Now, this might not be good if you have a lot of open space. Because of the size of the purifier, it might not be great for places that have large open spaces or a lot of square footage. However, thanks to the Wyze pricing, you could pick up a few of these for the same price that you would a higher end model. Because of the price to feature set, hey, I was surprised at the actual air quality and air cleaning that something like this could do. I strongly recommend checking out the Wyze Air Purifier, especially if you have concerns about the air quality in your home. And if you stuck to this point in the video, you appreciate the amount of time and effort that it takes in making a video like this. Hit that like button to tell YouTube more people should see this video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button below. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching.